On the 1st of May 1980, a new magazine with a murky cover but a blaring red-blue logo appeared on London's most up-to-date newsstand, in Great Marlborough Street, Soho. Contrary to the magazine conventions of the time, The Face had a title which did not tell you what it covered, almost no adverts, and was launched during a deep recession. Once distributed beyond Soho, the first issue sold 56,000 copies. The early 80s were a feverish time in Britain for new things, from youth cultures to design companies to political ideologies, and The Face, which tried to feature all of them in a fresh way, both glossy and gritty, while operating on a shoestring, remains one of the era's most mythologized products. It never sold more than 130,000 copies, modest for a magazine distributed internationally, and it was published for 24 years, pet good but not outstanding run. Yet it was consumed and is remembered with intensity. I was a Face reader from the mid-80s until near the end, and the feel of its best issues, forbiddingly stylish, but full of exciting information, insidery, but open to the world, was already loitering in my memory before I opened this elaborate history. Cover star, New Order in July 1983. Photographed Thames Hudson as well as a reverently detailed narrative. It presents hundreds of old Face layouts and covers. There are footnotes, a bibliography, and a long list of Face contributors. The latter helps explain the magazine's place in the pop cultural canon, with writers and photographers such as Julie Burchill and Jürgen Teller alongside many other alumni with their quieter but continuing importance in the magazine world. Yet this book is intended as more than the story of a network, or a bit of nostalgia for people with too many one-school records and pairs of trousers. The Face had a strongly collective internal culture, and Paul Gorman argues that the sensibility it formed has been profoundly influential on visual culture, from advertising, broadcast media, fashion, film and graphics to interiors, as well as photography, retailing and street style. He also argues that the Face's promiscuous approach to subject matter prefigured the way we treat information now. These are big claims, especially about something as traditional as a niche print magazine. But they are in keeping with the ambition that marked The Face from the beginning. Its creator, Nick Logan, was a deceptively mild 32-year-old, already an experienced player in the British magazine game. During the 70s he had been a reforming editor of the venerable music paper New Musical Express, and then had invented the cheeky and successful pop weekly, Smash Hits. For his next trick, he imagined a more sophisticated, more deluxe music monthly, a sort of British Rolling Stone with Paris match-quality photography and Tatler production values, aimed at readers in their teens and 20s who lived for pop culture. Logan had been one himself, growing up as a mod in Lincoln and on the suburban fringes of London. When the magazine conglomerate EMAP did not respond to his urgent pitch letter quickly enough, Logan, in the spirit of punk and Thatcherism, decided to finance and run The Face himself. The first 4 chapters here make the magazine's early phase feel frenetically exciting and transgressive. Between 1980 and 1985, The Face metamorphosed almost issue by issue from a relatively traditional, if stylish, rock monthly, featuring left-wing bands in moody monochrome layouts to a bright cheerleader for hedonistic new bands such as Haircut 100 and Spandau Ballet, and the emerging, more swaggering London they represented to a multicultural nightlife and fashion journal, which celebrated clubbing and black music and style with an ease that was unprecedented. July 1998 issue photographed Thames Hudson. The look of the magazine switched from spacious to hectic, and back again. Logan, always a permissive, encouraging editor, let a young graphic designer, Neville Brody, concoct new typefaces, and manipulate existing ones so dramatically that The Face seemed capable of launching a subcultural trend with a few well-placed exclamation marks. Meanwhile, the magazine's equally cocky young writers, some of them defectors from less hip publications, others completely untrained, divided up the world's pop culture into acceptable and unacceptable phenomena. "Style is our status system, our guide to what is right in the world," wrote Robert Elms, the most intoxicatingly confident Face writer of all, in 1985, and Alan were getting better at it. Gorman, a magazine veteran but never a Face contributor, is a less compelling voice. Sometimes, his approach is too sober and conscientiously factual for a magazine where hype was one of the main currencies. But at other times he usefully demystifies. While the early 80s Face was selling glamour and social possibility, the workaholic Logan and his few staff were in a Soho basement, living off low wages and sausage sandwiches. As Margaret Thatcher polarized Britain, The Face covered her opponents and victims from a consistently left-wing perspective. But the magazine almost never asked whether its cultural one-upmanship and obsession with the coolest commodities were also helping to entrench Tory values. Gorman avoids this issue too. Perhaps complicity in Thatcherism is too uncomfortable a subject for such a handsome retrospective. By the late 80s, the Face had become an institution, a training ground, promoter and quality controller for what even stuffy Tory ministers would soon learn to call Britain's cultural industries. Yet, unsurprisingly, after a decade of dominance over this fickle world, the magazine was also at risk of going out of fashion. The sudden spread of scruffy, boisterous rave culture across England made the Face's approach polo, essentially explaining to provincials like me which London clubs and boutiques to go to, or dream of going to, look elitist and rigid. Logan was curious and pragmatic enough to change course. In 1989 he gave up the editorship to Cheryl Garrett, an unpretentious face writer and rave aficionado from Birmingham. With a new, less metropolitan, less male generation of contributors during the 90s, the Face in many ways reversed its mission. It explained the populist youth cultures of cities such as Manchester and Liverpool to Londoners. Photos of gurning, happy lads in football shirts replaced immaculate shots of dandies in London nightclubs. Fashion shoot in the December 1997 issue photographed Thames Hudson for a second time. The Face both reflected and helped make the zeitgeist. Northern England was rising, along with the new Labour MPs who represented it in Parliament. A modernised British patriotism seemed to be crystallising, among its elements classic Face preoccupations such as football and British dance music. In October 1995, the magazine's sales reached their highest ever level. Yet there were also signs that it might not keep its position as a cultural gatekeeper much longer. During the 90s, a string of other British magazines were launched, such as Loaded and Dazed Confused, which shared some of the Face's interests and tone. Meanwhile, the Face lost more of its distinctiveness by becoming too interested in celebrities. Robbie Williams, Leonardo DiCaprio and the Spice Girls were all circulation-sustaining cover stars, but they blunted the Face's claim to be cutting edge. In 1992, it was sued for libel by Jason Donovan, after it illustrated a critical article about celebrity outing with a picture of a poster that claimed, inaccurately, that he was gay. Gorman points out that the article said Donovan wasn't gay. And the Face, always relaxed about sexuality, was unlikely to want to smear anyone sexually anyway. But Donovan won the case. And the snobbier kind of Face reader, like me, wondered why a soap star was in the magazine in the first place. In 1997, the circulation abruptly went into a terminal slide. Without quite saying so, the book suggests that by then, with Britpop fading and the rave scene fragmenting, Britain was no longer producing enough distinctive subcultures for the Face to write about. The Internet age had begun, and with it, the global homogenization of pop culture. In a sense, this huge, rich book is not about the Face at all, but British pop culture in the late 20th century, and how those good times ended. In 1999, Logan sold the Face to EMAP. In 2004, the magazine closed. This spring, two former EMAP executives announced plans to revive it, as a website and then possibly a print version. It may work. Some of the Face's rivals have survived. But the days when a single-style magazine could tell you how to live are, for good or ill, probably gone. Andy Beckett's Promised You a Miracle Why 198,082 Made Modern Britain is published by Penguin. The Story of the Face, the magazine that changed culture, is published by Thames Hudson. To order a copy for £29.71 RRP £34.95, go to bookshop.theguardian.com or call 0330 333 6846. Free UK PP over £10, online orders only. Phone orders min PP of £1.99.